Hi, I'm Mark Schnape, and this is Ron Golden, and we are currently at the 2012 Ventura County Real Estate and Economic Outlet Conference in Westlake Village. And in today's presentation, we have a commercial panel, a residential real estate expert, and I'm going to be giving the forecast for Ventura County. Ron?
We have a real estate panel this morning made up of 4 real estate professionals and a real estate lender looking at 3 different segments of the market. We've got the industrial market, the office market, and the retail market, and we're expecting some great information from this gentleman.
Well, the other remaining segment we're going to talk about this morning is the retail markets. Consumers are spending again, and the economy is slowly recovering with jobs and income. The stock market is higher, housing appears to be stabilized. And we still have relatively high vacancy rates in the retail sector, both in the east and the west counties. Question number 1, and Michael Schiff, you're our retail expert this morning. Tell us about some of the major retail projects that are being developed or existing projects being redeveloped in the county.
Well, I can tell you that, retail is a lot better than the office and industrial markets from a lot of perspectives. Hearing everybody talk about is this, your question regarding, is this a good place to come, and why would people want to come to Ventura County as opposed to anywhere else? The answer to that is very different in the retail sector, because the retail, they really care about one thing, 2 things. They care about demographics, and they care about how their competitors are doing. And if they see their competitors are doing well, they're going to want to come and join in. So we have a lot of demand in this area. In office and industrial, it looks like that. Obviously, their costs, their occupancy costs, and their labor costs are 2 big factors that they look at. And obviously, those expenses are higher in Ventura County than they are in other areas. In retail, they understand we have very, very high occupancy costs here, but if their sales warrant it, then they're more than happy to come here. So there's a big demand here, and we don't have as much vacancy as sometimes people say. I have friends, say to me all the time, "Oh God, I drive down Thousand Oaks Boulevard and I see, lots of vacancy." But number 1, they're not comparing it to other areas like the San Fernando Valley or LA. And number 2, they're not realizing how quickly that space turns over and gets released. So yes, sometimes you see vacancies come about, but you don't, see those spaces sit on the market anywhere near as long in our areas, Conejo Valley or Ventura County, as you do in an area like the San Fernando Valley or LA. Especially the better centers, the A+ properties, the demand for those centers and quality space in those centers, especially from restaurants, it just leases up very, very quickly. So we don't have much land to develop out here. Pretty much everything has been developed until you start to go out further west into the Ventura County, Camarillo, Oxnard areas. We do have some projects that are coming online. One of the biggest ones that's coming up is the collection at River Park. The collection at River Park is a 600,000 square foot specialty center located in West Ventura County, and its anchors include Target, which is currently open. Also becoming is a 16-screen Century Theaters, Whole Foods Market, and an REI. They say they're 60% leased already. The other project we have, the Shops at Westlake Village. It's a 245,000 square foot development by Select Development Group, and they break ground in the spring of 2013. It'll be anchored by Target and Total Woman. Target will be about 137,500 square feet in the project. Will contain a grocery component like most of the larger Targets have today. And this project is supposed to be completed in March of 2014. As far as remodels, a lot of landlords are starting to reinvest their money back into the properties. There was a time period, obviously, where they're on a holding pattern, saying let's not sink too much money into the facade of the properties. Let's just worry about saving our money for tenant improvement allowances and areas like that, so we can, get deals done. But now they're starting to reinvest back into their properties, and a perfect example of that is Westlake Plaza right over here, across the street at the corner of Westlake Boulevard and Agora Road in Mountgate. Regency owns from block to block to block. They own Westlake Plaza, Westlake Center, and the Gelson Center as well. It's the center that anchored by Sprouts and Vons. They're going to be doing a $10 million redevelopment in 2013. The plans include a facade renovation, new landscaping, new hardscape, and a whole different flow between the centers. They're going to basically create more of a flow between the Gelson Center and Westlake Plaza and Westlake Center, redoing the common areas and stuff like that, redoing pedestrian walkways and stuff like that.
Next question. Some of the sub-markets in the retail sector have been stymied by products that do not match the needs of today's tenants. You see some of the big box users, maybe the Best Buys and so forth, realizing they don't need that kind of space. What do you see happening with shopping centers that may have a mismatch between what tenants are really looking to have versus what may be there now? Is there redevelopment possibilities? So give me some insight on those kind of things.
Well, it hasn't really hit us yet, but I do think in the not too distant future we are going to definitely see less of a demand for big boxes. That's probably the biggest area we're going to see a change in the retail sector. You know, most of the properties, the majority of the properties in Ventura County or all the markets do accommodate most of the tenants today. But obviously there are some centers that have a lot of big box spaces, and those are just going to be in less demand probably in the next 2 to 5 years. Every big box giant out there has come out with a smaller concept. But right now, they're just trying those smaller concepts in different submarkets where they think that it's not necessary to have their full-size prototypical type store. But all of them have it, Walmart, Target, Best Buy, The Gap, Sports Authority, PetSmart, Petco, even the grocery store chains, Whole Foods, and those. They're all coming up with these smaller concepts. And what it does is it allows them to maximize sales and open up more stores in closer proximity to each other. And one of the new trends now is to carry less product and to only carry, in their brick and mortar stores, they're only carrying the products that are in higher demand, and then they drive the sales to their websites for the products that are in less demand. So it used to be, stock everything that we carry. Now it's stock the things that people are wanting, on an everyday basis, but the less popular items just direct them to our website. And, so to answer your question about what landlords are going to have to do, clearly they're going to have to demise those spaces. It's obviously very, very expensive to take a big box space and demise it into smaller units, but it's an expense that has to be done, because certainly having it sit vacant and no tenants wanting that size space is obviously a lot more costly.
A lot of the activity that we're seeing on the lending side is refinancing of retail centers, smaller retail centers to medium-sized retail centers. And I think for bankers, I don't know how many bankers are out here, that kind of our bad news is that where rates are. And good news is for borrowers where rates are. So that's why we're seeing a lot of refinancing. I never really thought I'd see rates 5-year fixed. I was always stuck at 6%. And I would tell my lenders, I'm not going to approve anything less than 6. And they said, well, Bill, we're not doing any deals. So I dropped them, we would drop them into the 5s, and boy, did it slide through the 5s into the 4s, and rates are really low. So we're starting to see a lot of good borrowers with good centers refinancing those centers. In regards to, say, construction, we've actually done some ground-up construction for retail centers lately. And the big key is pre-leasing. You have to come in with good tenants, pre-leasing that will at least cover the construction interest costs on a going-forward basis when complete. So we're probably asking for probably 55-60% pre-leasing. If you have a really, really strong borrower, maybe a little bit less where they can carry the project. But a lot of competition out there on the banking side, really for all the markets in regards to rates and refinancing.
Thank you, Bill. Well, there's probably some concessions being made by rental rates in this retail market. Michael, what are you seeing with a typical concession landlord would have to make to bring a deal to fruition in this market?
Landlords are, obviously motivated to make deals, and they're given a lot of concessions. It depends on the deal, obviously, but more importantly, not only does it depend on the economics of the deal, but how much rent they're willing to pay. But it also depends on, obviously, the creditworthiness of the tenant, as you said, and if it's a national chain versus a mom and pop. Mom and pops these days are not getting much in the way of tenant improvement allowances. Landlords are willing to give some free rent. They'll probably give 4 or 5 months of free rent on a 5-year deal. But very little in the way of tenant improvement allowances. But they feel like when they give these tenant improvement allowances, they're becoming a partner in the business. And obviously, if that business fails, that's a waste of money. The national chains, landlords are very, very motivated to do deals with these stronger national chains. And those type of tenants, they're definitely giving some sizable tenant improvement allowances. They're essentially, in some cases, buying up their rent. If they give enough tenant improvement allowances, they can keep their rents up pretty high, which keeps the rent equivalent to what the mom and pop tenants are paying. Because these national tenants, obviously, they want a lot more and demand a lot more in the way of concessions and lower rent than the mom and pops do. So the landlords are saying, well, rather than give you this rock bottom rent way below what I'm wanting to drop my rents down to, I'll give you a sizable tenant improvement allowance. But as Bill said, you really got to look at the financials of the company. Just because they have multiple stores doesn't necessarily mean that their financials are strong. So we take a hard look at those.
Final question, put on the crystal ball. Take a look at the 2 to 3 years out. How are you seeing the retail market with respect to supplies and demands in Ventura County?
I think it'll remain strong. It'll just keep getting better. I mean, I feel very fortunate to work in the market that I do. The demographics in this market make my job so much easier. And there's just such demand here, and it'll continue. And, as the economy picks up, the tenants, the first place they start looking is areas like this, where not only the demographics are great, but businesses are doing well compared to other markets. So, the good news is that we definitely are seeing way fewer tenants late with their rent, almost down to a crawl these days in the retail sector. Obviously, if you compare that to 2 or 3 years ago, there was tenants that were crying the blues, saying they were going to have to close their doors, they're not going to be able to pay next month's rent if they're not given a rent reduction and so forth. But we're just seeing that really dwindle down, where very few tenants are struggling like they were before. Not to say we don't see businesses close, obviously we do. I'm basically comparing it to other areas, other markets, and so forth. So, comparatively speaking, I'd say we're doing pretty well, and rents are going to start to climb. They're already on the uptick, but I would say that they'll climb a lot more in the next 2 years.
Bill, would you concur with that from a lender's perspective?
After the last few years, I'm tired of worrying about the economy, and we're optimistic that things are going to get better, and I think we all think we're optimistic things will get better, but really we do believe that Ventura County is strong, the real estate market is strong, and will continue to be strong. I mean, I don't live in Ventura County, but I love coming up here, and it's a great place for people to live, great weather, great businesses, and really we think the next few years are going to get stronger.
I want to thank the panel for your brilliance this morning, your comments, and although we have some challenges, it looks like there's some optimistic views moving forward in the commercial market. So let's give them a round of applause.